Growing up in a relatively competitive suburb, whether they were Asian or not, it was just academically competitive. You definitely felt, even though you were really young, that there was something that you had to like uphold, like a keeping of the Joneses. And so it was like, okay, is this part of having to make my family happy and to just go do this and get this degree? Looking back, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I'm sure many, many people have done that. I guess where I maybe veered a little bit off was definitely after I graduated. I purposely chose a different path where I could learn about who I was and what I wanted and to actually go after my true passions.
So very excited to have my friend Kim here. Kim, welcome to the show. Very excited to have you as we celebrate AAPI Heritage Month. Asian American identity is everywhere. I know you've had been both a big advocate as well as an educator in that space, but also living through that dream yourself too. But I'm curious, one of the things that I want to first tackle is that you've lived in many different locations and countries. How has that experience changed or shaped how you think about your identity as an innovator?
So I have lived the majority of my adult life in Asia. I was born and raised in the US and recently in the last 2 years repatriated back. What it means for me as an innovator is I have to get used to a lot of unknowns very quickly. I've dived into two completely different cultures for both work and just life. And you have to be open to embracing change and surprises all around.
Kim has been very busy. She's been present in many shows in the States. And so I'm curious from just a fashion designer perspective, how do you manage your time and energy? Because it feels like you have to almost be like everywhere, but like you also need time offline to create, to work on your business as well, and have time to generate new ideas. I'm curious how that works for you.
I'd have to say when I first came back, it was very shocking to be back in the US and the cultures are very different. And I was moving back with family. It was a lot. I wish in the first year I had given myself a lot more time off instead of just diving ahead and doing so many events. They are tiring. Yes, that is like where you learn about what products work and do not. But at the same time, you have to give yourself time to rest. And I actually happen to be in a period of that right now.
How do you balance that out? Do you allocate a specific time? Do you have hobbies to make sure you rest? I assume also as a creative, it's important to have time to create. So, how do you balance all of that?
I also do have to mention that I do some consulting work too in the US. So the consulting projects are 2 to 3 months. For example, this last one, I helped a fashion tech startup called Pickle open their first boutique in the West Village. It was a great experience, by the way. And shout out to Pickle, you should check them out. 2 to 3 months of really intense on a deadline to open a shop with pretty green team that had never opened one. And so for me, that was just the perfect kind of thing where I can help people realize their own dreams. These are skill sets that I've just picked up over the years. And so having that and then being able to take a break in between that to then actually be very mindful of when I'm being creative, when I rest, and to actually enjoy that time instead of worrying about what the next thing is.
How has your identity influenced you also in all these chapters in who you are as an innovator?
Starting from growing up, I always felt like I was really just in between lots of things. And so for me to go from the US to Japan to China, I was just like, I'm just an outsider, whatever. I guess this means I'm still going to do whatever I want to do. And so that's what I perceive it to be. I'm strongly rooted in having collective values and also growing like community, whether that was through, say, work in food or even creating like a APAHM, which I did when I was in China. And so it's more of just seeing the opportunity for where more people can connect.
Love that. Love that. For some that might have felt like the barrier, you translated that and the very opportunity of the in between experiences into being the bridge building skills. But on top of all of this, she's very active community builder and has fostered in all the different groups as you continue to live in different chapters. And so grateful for your wisdom, leadership, but also just advocacy and connecting those different dots. We covered a lot of different grounds. We want to continue our learning. One of the big thing of why I'm doing this theme structure for this season 3 is that we want to continue to expand our learning of other innovators.